you sentimental roses, but you gave them all away. I played you all my favorite records. And we spent the night in talking all the time. You sent me home. I was so surprised to find that after all, it doesn't hurt to be alone. 'Cause you got love, love, love on your side. 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 Well, all the things you say make perfect sense to me. But somehow I'm still unsure that I catch myself going through the same old rhapsody.
Rap boy, rap. Rap boy, rap. Rap boy, rap.
I don't understand just what I'm doing to myself. I guess that's nothing new. 'Cause when you meet someone who doesn't follow all the rules, it changes everything you do. 'Cause you've got love, love, love on your side. You've got love, love, love on your side. You've got love, love, love on your side. You got love, love, love on your side.
There is a foolish superstition that some objects possess powers beyond anything human.
Thanks.
A foolish superstition. It's really an occult matter, Dr. Martin. The movie where death is in the driver's seat.
We don't know anything for a fact.
Clint Walker,
Except that bulldozer kills.
Carl Betts, 2 men dead. The survivors watch an unmanned bulldozer continue its rampage. Killdozer.
Next week on the Drive-In Asylum double feature, crashes, screams, killdozers. We've got it all with guest host Jennifer Upton. So join us then for those 2 fantastic films, and welcome back after watching Homicidal with me, Sam, and our guest host, Steve Wilson.
There he is. Welcome back.
Yeah. Well, how about that, huh?
That was a shock. I was in the coward's corner for the last 20 minutes, so I missed the ending. I got my money back, but you guys watched it. No, I'm just kidding. I made it the whole way through. Quite the revelation.
Exactly.
It's as if it's even more than Psycho. It was like Castle's like, you know what? I don't think Hitchcock showed us enough of Norman Bates dressed as his mom. Let's have it happen throughout the movie, and reveal it. And that's kind of what I dig. And Warren is a frightening individual. I don't know how anyone talked to him for more than a minute or 2 at a time about being completely freaked out.
He's a little intense.
Yeah, and like this too. Like, you're like, eh.
It was really over the top, the makeup job on Jean Arless. Although I think I had read that she was annoyed when she saw the final cut of the movie and realized she'd been dubbed. Because she probably performed an alternate voice for this, and maybe they didn't think it was convincing enough.
She probably worked a long time to get that male voice too.
Yeah.
And you know, they were like, no, that's fine. We're good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good point. But
This
go
this
ahead.
movie's interesting because I don't know if they could do it today. I don't know how they would make it today. It would be a lot different.
Yeah, I don't know how they would present that today, right?
Yeah.
It's a whole new lens that would look things through.
I like that the way they got out of anyone figuring out for years that Warren wasn't male was like, oh, well, they were in Denmark for 20, 18, 19 years. And when they came back, they came back. Nobody in Denmark ever noticed.
I guess that was their way of making it a little more believable. It was like, well, no one notices this because they've supposedly been living in Denmark. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
And then over there, he probably would have an accent, and she would have an accent anyway. They would have an accent.
Mhm.
And so it'd be fine. Everybody would be like, well, Americans are just real weird. you know?
Mm.
An interesting plan, and it makes sense why that Justice of the Peace was killed earlier in the movie. So it all does come together really nicely.
Yeah, they tie it up in a bow there. I think I was, talking to Bill earlier about when Gene is dressed, as Warren, that I did not figure it out from the beginning. I totally bought it. And, I'm watching this, performance, and I'm thinking, like, did they get this guy in here and then they didn't like the sound of his voice, and so they just decided to get someone else to do another voice for him. I didn't pick up on it at all. So come the ending, I was truly surprised. But going back and watching in repeated viewings with the makeup that was done on Jean, where they changed, obviously used false teeth and then put some prosthetics around her nose to change the shape of her nose, but they didn't change the eyes. And
Yeah.
there's a few times during the conversation that as Warren is looking around the room, when he moves his eyes, it's clearly Gene. So that was a nice touch that they didn't overdo it, right? They didn't try to sell it too much, because then maybe people's that uncanny valley kind of feeling would take over, like, oh, like this is not adding up like the way it should. So yeah, they leave just enough of it untouched as to kind of help pull off that illusion.
I wish it would have worked for me. I wish I would have been fooled by it, because it's such a good surprise whenever that happens. And remember the Alfred Hitchcock Presents episode, An Unlocked Window? Have you guys seen that one?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
It was the one they did it for the remake show in the 80s, but the original one was a lot better. And there was an actor in it who, at the end, you realize is not the gender that they presented as in the rest of the episode, and you're like, oh my god. It's very effective.
Yeah.
But this could have been too. There were a lot of people in the chat that said that they didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
I wish I would have been like.
I heard you guys discussing it too when I was in the other room, that like, is this a giallo? And I think it has a lot of the elements of it. It has like a gender switch that happens in a lot of the films. It has identity issues with the killer. There's dolls all over the movie.
Oh yeah.
The weapon use. So it's really close. And Bill said, well, when is the first accepted one? And other than obviously the Edgar Wallace books and Screaming Mimi, like Evil Eye / The Girl Who Knew Too Much is 1963. So this is like, 2 year or two before that movie.
Right.
But there's a lot of the elements of it, but a lot of it's also a lot of Hitchcock, which is they're very close cousins to it.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
but the dolls really push it toward it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it needs, if it had a little more fashion and a little more point of view shots of the killer.
Well, yeah.
And there was someone that was kind of blamed. It's really close though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, bumps up against it, definitely.
Yeah. It's funny that like I would love if De Palma was like, oh yeah, when I made Dress to Kill, I wasn't thinking of Hitchcock, I was thinking of Homicidal.
See, he was telling the truth all those years.
Yeah.
There were so many shout-outs to Psycho in the way that in unrelated ways that were unrelated to the story. Like there were a lot of characters in their underwear. There was that driving scene that Laura made a reference to where Emily looked like Janet Leigh in Psycho when she was in her car. Little visual cues they throw in there.
I do love that Castle literally, like most directors would not break the movie and remind you that you're watching a movie. And like when he brings the freight break in, it's like, we spent all this time building this reality of what the movie is. And it's like, hold on, everybody. We're watching my movie. And it's like, and he totally breaks it. And it's cool because when it goes back in, you're like, okay, like,
Yeah.
There aren't many movies that do that. What's the other one, Bill, that has the werewolf break in it?
The Beast Must Die.
The Beast Must Die has that in it, which I'm sure is influenced by this. But like, I think it's funny that there's this little break within the movie, even with animation and that clock going over it. And I think it would have been fun to be in the theater of people looking around. Imagine being in the theater and people looking around to see who's not going to stick around. It doesn't. Maybe I'm looking at this with 2023 eyes. It's not that frightening in that moment. In that moment, I'm not like, I feel a palpable sense of fear. Do you know what I mean? But it's still pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I like that this also, the other feel of Psycho I have in this is there's that whole, thanks Cubby. Cubby is telling me, explain it to me. The exposition at the end where they're kind of explaining the why of everything. That feels definitely Psycho-y.
there's also in the stairway scenes where in Psycho, Martin Balsam is coming up the staircase, prior to being attacked, and then in this one they have Joan coming up the staircase, kind of, approaching Helga, in her, wheelchair lift thing, and and then kind of like moves behind her, like into it even more. So Helga's even more vulnerable than she was before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of interesting, work with, kind of movement, around and, that sort of thing. I'm trying to think of another example.
I really like, as Bill said, one of the things I was looking for is like near the end, like how shadowy it gets, and it is really well shot within the black and white photography, and I really enjoyed that.
And to build that shot I was mentioning to you as we were watching the film, that where Miriam is approaching the staircase, and on the left side there's a shadow that approaches her that looks more like Joan than it does like Miriam, if that makes sense. Just lasts, just a brief few seconds, but it's you can find it. It's really amazing work as far as, using the shadows.
It was a lot of trouble to go through for Warren to create this alternate identity. But I guess that's what he had planned to do all along, was just to create this fictitious person who would, he spelled it all out in the end, I guess. I don't know. It's so confusing. There are so many confusing twists in this movie that it lost me a couple of times, I have to admit.
One of the things we talked about is like when they switch, like how much makeup does he have to take off? It almost feels like
Right.
he is wearing more makeup. I'm probably not using the right pronoun. I apologize, but like Warren is wearing more makeup as a male than he is as a female. Do you know what I mean? Like he has the bronzer and everything on,
Right.
and I can only imagine that, like, whenever he took off, I said to you guys, like, the bathroom had to be just loaded up with napkins or tissues that were just covered with bronzer. And then whenever he's back in it feels more fresh faced when he's in the female side of the personality.
Right.
Definitely more young and vivacious looking.
Yeah. Versus the other side is he feels like 20 years different,
Right.
That family was fucked up. Totally. Because
Just a little bit.
Not only did they raised this baby to be the opposite gender, but the father didn't know. I was
But
like,
there are stories of where that has happened, though. Yeah, we were talking about, we raised Cuppy, did not grow up and he was a full grown dog when we got him. We've turned him back into a puppy. So I mean, it happened. But yeah, there are people that were raised to wear dresses by their parents, and
I mean,
were
I've
younger.
known people that happened to, but it's just not. What I'm saying is that the father didn't even know the gender of the child, and I mean, don't both parents bathe the children?
Dads didn't change diapers back then.
I guess, yeah, that really does speak to the difference.
Yeah. Today, I don't think that would happen because there's such a sharing of those roles. But back then, like, you could, I guess, get away with it. It just feels weird, though. Like, there wouldn't be one time where someone was in the bathroom and say, "Can you get out of the way? I have to go."
Yeah, like, oh.
Yeah. I guess. I don't know. But you know what? Didn't the dad die when it was just a few years, right? Like 2 or 3 years before they moved back to Denmark?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. See, that's what someone needs to make that movie where the mom kills the dad. That's what really happened when he finds out and they moved to Denmark, and it's the murders in Denmark. There's a whole other side sequel that we could put in here.
It's like what happened to Michael Myers' parents.
Yeah.
And Laurie, she was born 2 years before he was committed. His parents.
There's a lot of
died
math
2
to
years
do in
later.
that situation. Oh.
But to tell you what, I mean, Helga knows all in this movie, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Except how to communicate.
well, yeah, right. Yeah. Helga's got it all figured out, you know, and like, you know,
And I agree with Tracy. There's a lot of sleepaway camp vibes in this, in that, someone's forcing someone to be something they aren't, or raising to be somebody that they aren't.
mhm.
So I would argue that the end of sleepaway camp is shocking if you didn't know what it was the first time you see it. You're, oh, okay, cool. I did not see that coming.
Well, it's like the end of Friday the 13th. You can't see it coming. You don't
Yeah.
know. Mrs. Voorhees wasn't a character, and you
Mhm.
didn't know that Angela was not a woman. She was not female. And this one, I guess, if you didn't know that Warren was Emily, that would be a big shocker.
This one, unfortunately, has like some. You can see through the makeup a little bit here, maybe. But you know what? Maybe in this came out in the '60s, people weren't used to having to spot the differences in gender, which we.
Right.
I don't want to say we're more critical, but we're used to looking and seeing people and accepting, versus like,
Yeah.
oh, that guy just looks strange.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's a strange looking man, and maybe it points to that.
Well,
But
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
still a cool idea. Cool idea for a story.
Yeah,
Go
I mean,
ahead.
Didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, like, the use of body doubles. When she, you think Joan's getting out of the car and going to the house, but really it's a male body double. I think Bill, I think you mentioned that she was annoyed by that. Joan was upon finding out that they did that, but it kind of adds to the illusion in a way. Tricking your brain into thinking you're watching one thing when you're actually seeing something else. Uh, you know, in that respect, it's inventive. I guess cheating as well.
Well, but also it's like you would never expect that. It's like, oh, this person that you've accepted as a male all along is also this female that you've just met.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that. It's like, what is that real detective? It's like whatever is the possibility that can happen is maybe what it is. It's like, but you always look at like what are the things that make the most sense. Like that makes the least sense that would be the killer. You know what I mean? It's like so. It's like it's interesting that's so that's what's cool about it. It is definitely a shock,
Mm-hmm.
and I like that Castle was doing. I mean, that's boundary pushing today in 1961 or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Ultra boundary pushing idea in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just reading some of the comments, so there's some pretty good comments.
Yeah, I haven't been putting them up on the screen because BeLive updated, and now it like makes all the boxes bounce up and down when I swap, when I go back and forth between the comments. So that's why I'm not doing that. It makes people seasick.
Yeah, it looks like everybody enjoyed it though. It was no
think
outright dislikes for the movie, so that's good.
where my glasses to see these comments.
I like that Tracy believes that Warren was an automaton. That makes sense. That could be another. He could be one of those dolls like Deep Red that comes running out, or Halloween 3.
Here's another William Castle gimmick. Emergo.
Oh, right.
For the stunning House on Haunted Hill. That seems to be a lot of people's go-to Halloween movie. They show that a lot on TCM in October. House on Haunted Hill. And I would have loved to have been in any theater where a skeleton flew over the crowd. I think that's brilliant.
I was talking to my mom about these movies this week, and she said that even at the kid matinees, they would play the trailers with just William Castle talking to you during the kid matinees, and every kid was like, "When we get older, we're gonna go to that movie." Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we're gonna. Because other kids, like older kids, would talk about it and be like, "Oh, you can't handle it. You wouldn't." A skeleton flew out over the audience. And my mom was like 6, and she's like, "No, I probably would have freaked out. Like if it's skeleton, because like yeah, when you look at it now, you're like, oh, that's obviously a completely unrealistic skeleton
Right.
that flew out. But it's like, yeah, if you're that age and you're that amped up,
That's the
it's
target
great.
audience.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. I was trying to think, and this is a question I had for you guys: is what do you think the best? Well, two questions. What is Jinx Day in this
Jinx Day.
in the Jinx Day Jamboree? That's what
Friday
the
the 13th.
Oh, okay. And then, what do you think the best castle gimmick is?
Mm.
I think it's this one, Percepto.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love the ghost glasses for 13 Ghosts too, though, because it's a cool way of kind of using the same technique of 3D in a different way.
And how many people just went up and down, up and down, up and down with the glass?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This movie really was kind of creepy, The Tingler. I never thought that William Castle's movies were particularly scary, even when I was a kid, but this one was. Because there
Mhm.
was that scene with that woman that we see there depicted in the ad. That was actually really creepy. And the part where you see the bug walking across the camera.
Right.
Well, the idea that this bug is living inside you potentially and
Mm-hmm.
feeding off your fear is almost the bug is almost like a pre-Cronenberg creature. You know what I
Right.
mean? It looks so weird and odd, and the idea that it's lost in the theater for a couple of seconds or the drive-in, depending on what cut you saw of it, like that's pretty amazing. That like you actually become part of the movie in this. Where we talked about before of how Castle takes you out of the movie. In this movie, in The Tingler, he brings you into it. You are the audience in the theater in that one scene.
Right.
It's very meta.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and I love that.
Here's some more
Oh.
stuff that I've been running on the page lately. Also from the late 50s. The Crawling Eye, one of my TV faves.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I've just been doing a lot of these, Bill, between that Mill Creek set and Chiller Theater Month. Cosmic Monsters and The Crawling Eye both watched both of them.
I noticed that we were overlapping there for a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, I love The Four Skulls of Jonathan Drake. I just watched that too, and I really, really liked that movie way more than I thought I was going to.
What about The Hound of the Baskervilles? Either you guys, do you like that one?
I haven't seen that one.
Mm. I haven't seen that either.
With Peter Cushing. Yeah, I think I've seen it. I would have never watched this as a kid because it was just so, it didn't have an identifiable monster. The Hound of the Baskervilles. Oh, how could that be scary?
Right. You look like a good boy. You just give him a cookie.
This makes it look like The Howling, though. This is really scary looking for the late 50s.
Yeah.
Everything passed for horror back then, too. It was
Right.
they would show a film noir on a horror film lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the bat.
Face of Fire.
I
What
don't
the
know
hell
what
is
that is.
that?
Yeah. I don't know what that is.
Cameron Mitchell, baby.
I've never seen Face of Fire, and I have overdosed on Cameron Mitchell movies.
Well, there's one for your list.
Yeah, I do have a list of Cameron Mitchell movies. It is Face of Fire. Handyman saves a child in the fire, but the burns disfigure him so much that the townspeople ignore him. Albert Band directed it.
There we go.
Royal Dano's in it too. Why haven't I watched this movie? James Whitmore. This is like a Sam movie, 100%. Oh,
I just
okay,
watched an Albert Band movie, I Bury the Living.
oh yeah, I love that movie. That little map they have is so
It's
weird.
creepy. It's a really creepy movie. I liked it a lot.
It's kind of proto Cemetery Man.
Okay, I guess we're done with those Ads. Guess we're done.
Here's what came in the mail this week, Bill.
Yes.
Tremors 2 from Arrow.
All
Coming
right.
soon. It's on UHD and Blu-ray. And I know we're giving away a Visual Vengeance movie, but 2 new ones just came in the mail. The Wrong Door, which I have never seen before. That's a new from Visual Vengeance. This comes out in December. And really excited about this one. Scream Queen, a never released
yeah.
Linnea Quigley movie.
Nice.
Packaging is super, super nice, and tons of extras on it. But yeah, super cool. Another Visual Vengeance. And I have a list on my letterbox. There's about 20 other Visual Vengeance movies that right now are Tubi only, including 2 or 3 Bruno Mattei movies, which is why we were originally hired by them. We were going to do a couple of those.
We never did them.
Never did them. And I asked Rob, and he's like, yeah, it's easier to get stuff up on Tubi than all the work for the Blu-ray. So some stuff may appear earlier on Tubi and then eventually come out on Blu-rays. But there's a whole list there of what's on Tubi that is considered. Some of them are Wild Eye releases, but they're considered Visual Vengeance releases, he said. But like, there's also a few that have come out on Blu-ray, like LA Age Jabber and Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder from Hell that are on Tubi as well. And the Chupacabras movies, the 2 Chupacabras movies. What's Bill holding?
Wouldn't you love to have a copy of Lichen Colony, one of the brand new releases from Visual Vengeance? Well, we have 2 copies to give away on tonight's program. So, Sam, you want to get your Wheel of Fortune ready?
I do. Also, Bill, the other commentary, there's a 3rd commentary on that. There's a Riff Tracks commentary, too.
That's right. I forgot about that.
On the
How
same
could I
disc,
forget Riff Tracks?
Yeah, which is super cool. And also I wrote the little book that's in there on Lichen Colony. So you get a lot of Bill and Sam on that. Really. So yeah, well, let us know if you'd like to win. I have the wheel of names up right now and ready to add names to it. Jeff Drake is the first entrant.
Lichen Colony took me by surprise because I didn't expect it to be as complex as it ended up being, since it was a shot on handheld video movie. And the CGI tattoo really blew my mind.
The wormhole is the part in the bar that blows my mind, where he gets punched in and falls into that wormhole and comes out in another world. You don't see that happening at all.
You getting these names, Frank?
I have Mandy. I want to add Vince, Beth.
Frank Polvino.
I have
Dustin.
Frank. Yes.
Dustin wants in.
Here's what I have: Jeff Drake, Frank, Dustin, Vince, Beth, Mandy. Who else? Oh,
Lee.
Yeah.
Tracy. Did you get Tracy? Tracy Palma.
Lay.
Lee.
Lay.
Okay. LA. Okay, I'll get
I think it's Lee.
Lee. Okay.
I think it's pronounced Lee. Let us know.
Apologies.
Yeah.
You guys know how bad I am at pronouncing things. If I call everybody dude, a lot easier. I can pronounce that.
Right.
Tracy, there's way more than 6. We have 20 people watching right now. I can see the counter. But some of it's, my number shows Facebook and YouTube. So depending on how you're watching it, there may only be.
And we have 2 copies, so you have a pretty good chance to win if you would like to win.
Yeah. You have at least like a 1 in 4 chance of winning tonight. So
yeah.
Pretty good odds.
There's not enough for everybody, but
yep.
There's a good chance it might be you.
A winner. I'm going to give it another minute here, and then we'll switch over to the wheel.
We don't want to jump in too fast. You got to do these things delicately.
Yeah.
Vegas
go ahead.
I just say Vegas is taking odds on this. It's very important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm really excited
did
to
not,
watch
yeah.
Crash next week because
Oh yeah.
I think I've seen it, but I haven't seen it in so long. I don't remember much about it, so I want to catch up with Crash because it's got to be as fabulous as I remember.
That looks like a lot of fun. Yeah. So many explosions just
Oh,
in the trailer. It's like,
There were so many explosions. If you're gonna call your movie Crash,
right. You better
you're gonna live up to it.
you
in
better
that trailer.
deliver. Right.
it's pretty amazing. That's a Charles Band movie. Speaking of Albert Band,
Yeah,
he produced it. He produced
it's
Crash.
crazy that it's a Charles Band movie without little people in it. It's
Are you
pre
sure?
before he was just like, oh yeah, that's the truth. It's not Cronenberg's Crash. Elias Koteas isn't in it. It's different.
No, Eldon Glenn. This is Crash from 1977, 76.
John Carradine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sort of a spiritual cousin to The Car. And it's sort of a cross between The Car and that episode of the Brady Bunch where Greg picked up the cursed tiki idol and
Yeah.
had a wipeout in a surfboard. It's kind of that.
All right. Beth wants in twice. Once as herself and once as Warren.
Beth, we can see right through that trick. Sorry, you only get one entry.
It's, it's very William
So I have-
Cashless of you, Beth.
I'm sharing the wheel right now. But
Nice one.
Okay. So I think everybody who wanted it on the drawing is in.
Yep.
So let's see what happens here.
all right, I am spinning the wheel. Vince. It looks like.
Wait a minute, what happened?
It's paused. Oh, there it goes. Leif is the first
Leaf
winner.
won.
Yeah.
Something happened, but the Oracle says that Leaf is the winner.
Yeah.
And the Oscar goes to who?
Let's take him out so
All
we can
right.
win twice. All right, we're gonna spin it again.
Dustin Fallon.
Dustin, there you go.
All right. There you go, guys.
Congratulations, Dustin.
Whoops.
We've lost Bill. There's Bill.
Your screen went away and I clicked the box at the same time.
Ah, okay. Congratulations, guys.
Yeah, congrats to both of our winners tonight, Leaf and Dustin.
Yeah. You will send your addresses to us and we will get these in the mail and on the way to you. And then you can tell us what you think of this fine movie.
I have a confession to make. After all that talk from eating cereal on the first segment, as soon as the first segment was over, I went and got a bowl of shredded mini wheats, frosted mini wheats. That's my old man cereal.
It was a pretty intense discussion of cereal.
It was.
I completely understand that.
And now that
Bill
Bill,
on
like say now that Bill is regular, everything's good in the world.
It's all going to be different now. It's a whole new world.
Bill, this week on my site, I'm finishing up the Mill Creek Sci-Fi Classic set, which is exciting. And I'm starting the Mill Creek Swingin' 70s set, which is filled with some of the it has no, other than the movies all being from the 70s, you get like CC and Company with Joe Namath and Hannah, Queen of the Vampires on the same set. There is like, it is all over the place. A lot of TV movies. I'm loving it. The Cop in Blue Jeans is on it. The Plesioteca movie. Identikit is on it. How Awful About Alan. The Evil Knievel bio movie. And even like weird stuff like Congratulations, It's a Boy, a movie where Bill Bixby plays a swinger from 1971 TV movie. Pretty great, actually. I really dug it. Ann Southern plays his mom in it. I have a big weakness for TV movies of the mid '70s, as you know. So this is a good set for that. And then a lot of Telly Savalas coming up on the site this week. So Border Cop
Ah,
and
always welcome.
Pancho Villa is one of my. I'm doing the Spaghetti Western Databases challenge for November. So yeah, a lot of fun Italian westerns coming up this month, and a whole Pancho Villa box set which I've been watching too. So always tons of stuff
Was
to watch.
Pancho Villa directed by Eugenio Martin, the same guy who made Horror Express, or is that something else?
He did something. I can't remember which other one
Nicholas
he
and
did.
Alexander was the other one.
Yeah, these are like hour-long monogram pictures movies that were all like B programmers from the U.S. Uh, Beth S. Next week's movies are Crash from 1977, not the David Cronenberg movie, and Killdozer, the TV movie with Clint Walker. Bill, I learned actually this week, because Clint Walker is also in Pancho Villa with Telly Savalas. He was nearly killed skiing. He was in a tumble and he had a ski pole go through
Ooh.
his heart. And he was
Oh
literally dead
God.
on the table. And one of the doctors came in and said, "I can save him," and did. 2 months later, he was back to acting. But yeah, he had a near death experience and totally reevaluated his life. I never knew that
Holy
about Clint
shit.
Walker.
It's
Yeah,
wild.
yeah. Clint Walker also pretty much what's his name from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He's the same career trajectory of like being on Cheyenne and then suddenly being in Italian movies and TV movies. You know what I mean? It's a very similar career trajectory, but he's great. And Killdozer is awesome. There was even a Marvel comic adaptation of Killdozer, which is pretty cool.
Wow. That's funny.
So I'm excited. Yeah, that's a good double pick. And Jen's always awesome. Jen's also going to be on the Making Tarantino podcast that I was on. Their new episode this week, Bill, is all about Dawn of the Dead, which is pretty exciting. And when I talked to Philip, who does the show, he's from Arizona. Trying to explain to him, I think it's different. Dawn of the Dead, while important to everybody, I think for us in the Pittsburgh area, it maybe hits a bit different because it hits way close to home. But pretty interesting hearing his feelings about it and what Dawn of the Dead means to him as somebody that's not a Pittsburgher. And I'll be back on that show in December. They'll have me back on despite me talking for 3 hours about the about Black Gun, the last movie I was on, talking about with a couple Cleveland players in that movie. So,
Nice.
a lot of football players in that movie. So yeah, finishing out November. Bill, the other big news I have is on Thanksgiving Day. You know how much. Who doesn't love giant monsters for Thanksgiving Day, right? That's a tradition. Thanks to
Right.
WOR.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll be doing 24 hours of 24 different kaiju movies on the 4th of July. Or not 4th of July, on Thanksgiving. I'm drinking on Thanksgiving. But super, and 4th of July too. Fuck it. Who cares?
Why not?
But man, Bill, I discovered, and Steven, I discovered a really wild Tubi 2022 movie about a fake documentary about Loch Ness Monster showing up in Seattle. It's only about an hour long, but it's really about a dad having trouble connecting with his daughter. I don't know where this movie came from. I loved it. It's all shot on digital video, and it's really weird. That's at least one of them. So I'm excited. I'm tracking down a lot more. I'm in the dregs of Godzilla movies. You know, like the Godzilla movies where Godzilla's not even really in it, but it's about a kid having problems. Those are the kind of movies I'm in right now.
Nice.
Didn't you hate those ones when you were a kid where it's like, I don't care about humans and their problems, right? Like I only care about I care about Godzilla fucking shit up. I don't care about this. Steve, what were the horror hosts for your area? Were you Cleveland? Like, did you hit Cleveland area?
Yeah, so we had well, I mean Goulardi, you know, was the big one, but I mean Goulardi was on and off the air, I think, you know, 5 years before I was even born. But yeah, we had in the 70s, we had Big Chuck and Little John, or Big Chuck and Houlihan, and then it became Big Chuck and Little John. We had the Ghoul for a while, like in the late 70s, early 80s, I believe. I think the Ghoul was actually, don't know if it was my first introduction to horror hosting, but that might have been Big Chuck and Little John. But yeah, but The Ghoul would have been second. So I remember watching. I don't remember. No, it could have been Terror Train, but but I remember watching movies with the Ghoul, and then we had Superhost. I think you guys,
Oh yeah.
yeah, you picked up Superhost over there, and he was like a noontime Saturday host, so he's skits of superheroes. That
Convoy.
was that.
Convoy was his big thing. I
Yeah,
remember that.
Convoy, and there was one like where
He was making music videos before MTV. If you think about it.
yeah. There's one like where he goes to kick a field goal and he kicks his whole leg off and it goes over to field goal and all that stuff. So yeah,
I have a DVD that I bought at a con of just all the bumpers and like his little music video stuff, and it's great. The
Yeah.
quality's not great, but it's weird when you watch those things that like totally unlocks these like sense memories of what it was like to be like 5 or 6 years old watching it.
oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember going.
So the other,
go ahead.
sorry, go ahead, Steve.
No, I just gonna as a example because personal aside about like going to our local softball field to see Big Chuck and Little John play a like a charity softball game, and just thinking like these are the biggest stars in the world, and they're on the other side of the fence.
I remember they had a pizza eating contest once on the show where they both got sick eating so much pizza. And I don't know why it stuck with me all these years, but we were real young, and like my dad laughed about it for like a year.
Yeah.
Like, he thought it was like the greatest thing that ever happened. Like, he loved that show. We got that too. So the other crazy movie I watched was The Stranger and the Gunfighter, which is a Shaw Brothers Italian Western that has Lee Van Cleef and Lil Lay in it. But it has Patty Shepard in it, who's in a ton of. She's in, the vampire and the versus the werewolf woman. Or the other way around, werewolf versus vampire woman. She's in that, and I'm trying to think who else is in it. But it's literally a movie where Lee Van Cleef and Lil Lay have to go find 4 women. Erica Blanc's in it too.
It's high class.
His uncle had 4 mistresses, and they all have a piece of a treasure map tattooed on their asses. So he has to go find these 4 women and study their butts. And I'm like, was this movie literally made for me? Like, this is crazy that and it's directed by Anthony Dawson, aka Antonio Marghetti. It is 100%. They made this movie for me. It's awesome. Because I love Lee Van Cleef and Lil Lay, so it's like, what a team. And it's like nothing. It's just like a hangout movie. It's pretty wild. It's made the same year as Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires, where Shaw Brothers was like, let's try to make movies with other studios that make no sense. And this is one.
You mentioned Hannah, Queen of the Vampires, and I love
Yeah.
that movie because it's just so dumb, and
I love
the
it.
people in it are so dumb. And there's the one guy who knows about the vampire, and he keeps trying to convince everybody else that she's a threat. And he's like, she's so smart. She's 700 years smart. She's way smarter than you. And he keeps talking about like how they're never going to be able to defeat her. And once she gets out, she's only managed to stay out for like maybe like 5 minutes. And she bites 1 or 2 people, and then she walks onto a lantern and burns to death. Like, she doesn't know any better than to do something that stupid.
And they've set up for the whole movie that that she is the ultimate force.
Right.
Really not.
She's not. She's been trapped in a tomb for 700 years. What does she know?
AKA Crypto the Vampire is one of the many titles.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's coming up too. And but this 70s Mill Creek set's great because it's so weird. Like, I know it's like there wasn't any thought process behind what movies get picked, right? For it, because it's like, well, is it free? You know what I mean? Like, is it covered by, is it in public domain? But like the Klansman's on it, and like Get Christy Love, and what War of the Robots, Werewolf of Washington, The Babysitter. It's got such a weird mix, and I love them all, but they're also disparate from genre. But that's what makes it cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are starting to discover, because those Mill Creek sets used to be like you would get them at the exchange or used store for like $2 or $3, and now they're like $30. And people are like, oh, these have Frankenstein 80 on them, and they have, you know what I mean, like really deep cut Italian movies that maybe haven't come out yet.
That movie was Last Rites, Eldon, that you're talking
Mhm.
about, where the morgue attendants were running an operation to feed vampires. We did that on the program maybe
Yeah.
2 or 3 years ago. God, 3
This is
years.
episode what, 156, Bill. So this is
No, it's 158.
158. Holy cow. Wow. So
Yeah.
that's at least 3 years of episodes. So
We are 158.
yeah, exactly.
Yes, and we don't even do it every weekend. We do take some
Yeah.
time off. In fact, we've got a hiatus coming up here in December. I guess it's okay to announce that.
Yeah.
Next weekend, we've got Jen Upton on the program. Then we're going to do 2 more shows after that. We'll do a late show on November 25th, I think it is. And we'll do a double feature on December 2nd. And then we're not going to come back until early January.
I will say the December 2nd double feature, one of them is a movie that we've wanted to do for a long time. And
Yeah.
it's very personal to Bill and me. And then the late night feature is one that I picked, and it's really dumb. But I love it. It's like it's like, also the director made the same movie twice. Like literally the next movie he made after it
It's
is
not
the same
dumb.
movie. No, it's great. I love it. I say dumb as a term of endearment. It's just like, what? Why would anybody? It's a movie where, why would they do this? Why would they stay here? But they do it, and it's like, fine, okay. And then the second movie that he did of it, it's the same thing again. But awesome, great. Like I love it. Like it's so welcoming and warm to me. Like I love it. Like I just get so happy with it. Do you know what I mean? Like I always joke, they're like warm blanket movies for me. I feel the same way about TV movies. Like when I see like a movie, when I see commercial breaks happen and them even know that they've been put together to make a movie, I'm like,
You see the place where the commercial is supposed to go
Right.
in a TV movie.
We'll fade
Yeah.
out, right?
I dig it.
It's
I
fun.
live for it.
I told Bill about it. I watched the goofiest TV movie today, Concrete Cowboys, which was a pitch for a series with Jerry Reed and Tom Selleck as guys who end up becoming private detectives. This is the most 1977, 78 TV movie ever. It's got Barbara Mandrell in it, Morgan Fairchild, Claude Akins, Ray Stevens actually sings a song in it. It is like very much it's like very much of like the Dukes of Hazzard time. It's kind of like if you combined like I've been watching obviously a lot of Italian westerns, but the feeling of like Trinity or those like buddy westerns, the comedy buddy westerns, it's like that mixed with Sheriff Lobo or like Dukes. It's pretty great. I fucking loved it. And Jimmy Sangster wrote it, who did all the Hammer movies, which he was in Hollywood and he was just like, yeah, I can write this. This is pretty easy. And it's like, what do you know about like country music? But Jerry Reed was there and he was like, I got it. Everything's fine. So it's like Jerry Reed as the main character instead of just being the second banana. I loved it. I also grew up in a town with one radio station that only played the Oak Ridge Boys, so maybe this explains why, you know what I mean, why it hits really hard for me.
Right.
But yeah, it's a fun movie. And then it was turned into a TV series, lasted 6 episodes. Tom Selleck was already hired for Magnum by the time it got picked up. So yeah. So there you go. Yeah, I'm excited. We're gonna have some good stuff before, and you guys everybody will be super busy with Christmas. You won't miss us. We'll come back in January and you'll be like, oh, I did miss them. And then we'll show something like, I can't believe you picked that shitty movie. And everything will be fine. It'll be where it should be in the world. Everything will be back to normal.
Everything will
This
be
house
in
is
the right.
Christmas already, though. I don't like that, but
Yeah,
Do you miss us when we go away, Steve Wilson?
absolutely. It's the number one thing I look forward to every week.
aw,
No
You always
lie.
put the drink up in the chat. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the least I could do.
What was your experience like? Did you enjoy being on the show? Did it
This was
live
a
up to your-
blast.
Was it? Okay, great.
Just an absolute blast. Yeah. I just had so much fun talking about movies, talking about, people's performances, whatnot. William Castle, the whole deal. Yeah. I loved it. It was, yeah, just an absolute blast. So
Thanks for picking this movie.
thank you very
Dude.
much. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this really is something that we should have done on the show a long time ago. There are so many movies. People are always saying like, "Oh, I suggested that." I think John said, "Oh, I suggested it a long time ago." It's like we can't do every movie. We want to. We want to save some good shit for later too, We can't do it all at once. So, we'll get to all
Nobody is asking for the ones I picked, so that's good. I'm glad that people come on and pick ones that people actually want to see. So
Sometimes we have to point out the stuff that you wouldn't watch otherwise.
yeah, like, who wants to watch Bloody Pit of Horror again? Me. I'm probably gonna watch it again tonight.
What's wrong with Bloody Pit of Horror?
Oh, I love that movie. I have a big Mickey Hargitay thing. Like I love him in everything. He's awesome. I didn't realize that there's an article coming up on the site, Bill, this week of all the Mae West Muscle Man review guys that were in Mae West Las Vegas show.
Wow.
They all ended up being in Italian movies. Like tons of them did.
And
Like there's at least five.
Oh,
And Sextet too. There you go.
there he is.
Gordon Mitchell was in it too. So that's what's funny. Like Gordon Mitchell and Mickey Hargitay were both in Mae West show. And then the guy who Mae West's secret boyfriend that she actually spent 27 years with, he and Mickey Hargitay got in a fist fight during one of her press conferences. So there's a whole article about the men of the Mae West Muscle Man review that's coming up this week. Because
there's
Gordon
a lot
Mitchell
of
and
testosterone bouncing around there. There's
a
gonna be
lot of
some
early
fist fight.
steroids. I actually checked in with one of my buddies about it because I watched so many Hercules movies, and I'm like, in '61 were guys. Oh yeah, there were steroids. And dudes were totally using them. I'm like, okay, because it's amazing. Like nobody did legs back then either, so it's a bunch of like Hercules dudes with very skinny legs and overly developed upper bodies. Like their upper bodies are shredded, and then they have like these skinny little legs. It's amazing.
On a side note, I worked with one of Mickey Hargitay's daughters.
Oh
years and
wow.
years
Oh yeah,
ago.
he was in Cleveland for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not a very exciting story, but is like one of these things where I didn't even put two and two together, until she mentioned like, oh, like Mickey Hargitay was my dad. I'm like, wait,
It
when
wasn't Mariska?
No, it was not her. No, this is somewhere after her. So yeah, but no, she's
Well, it's funny.
she's a very cool woman. I like to work with her. Yeah.
He settled in when he moved here originally in his early 20s. He lived in Cleveland and he ran a he did plumbing jobs, and
Right.
like can you imagine if like he came to your house because he was already gigantic, like he had just started weightlifting, and it's like this gigantic man comes to your house to work on stuff. But by that point, he had been a football player, a freedom fighter, a world champion speed skater. He had escaped his home country, snuck out to America, and he was only 21. And he's like, hadn't yet found Jane Mansfield. He had a crazy life. Like his life was fucking insane.
Yeah,
And
nuts.
it's really amazing. And like I saw David said people wish they had his Italian career. Yeah, he's in Black Magic, right? So he did everything. If that's the only movie you're in, if I could only be in one movie, it would be Black Magic, right? He did it, man. So thanks, Steve, for coming on the show. This was a blast. And everybody that wants, send us your info so you can get your Blu-rays before Christmas.
Again,
You can listen to us over Christmas. Buy the Blu-rays, and then when you miss us over the week, there's like a couple you could listen to. You could actually, there's enough out now, Bill, that people could fill the weeks we're not here.
Yeah, you could do a show every week. You can't live without us.
Yeah, you could do it every day and be like, oh, it's like having us in your house. That's great.
Well, thank you again for having me on. Yeah, this is just so much fun. Yeah, real blast.
Thanks for doing it. We're always happy
you're
that
welcome.
people want to hang out with us and talk movies. And we hope you'll be back next weekend, all of you,
Absolutely.
for Jennifer Upton, Crash, and Killdozer on the DIADF. And we'll see you then.
Under 17 not admitted without parents or guardian. Under 17 not admitted without parents or guardian.